Linux has a reputation for being secure, and compared to many other operating systems, it absolutely is. But secure does not mean invincible. Every system connected to the internet can be vulnerable if it is poorly configured or left unmaintained. Whether you are using Linux on a desktop computer, a laptop, a home server, or even a small development machine, there are simple security habits that dramatically reduce risk. The good news is that improving Linux security does not require being an expert hacker or system administrator. In fact, many of the most effective security practices are surprisingly simple and only take a few minutes to implement. In this video, we will walk through practical beginner-friendly steps that anyone can use to harden a Linux system and make it significantly more secure without turning it into a complicated fortress that is hard to use. One of the most important principles of Linux security is keeping the system updated. Software vulnerabilities are discovered constantly, and developers release patches to fix them. If your system is not updated, you might be running software that already has known exploits available online. Attackers often scan the internet looking for machines running outdated versions of software, because those are the easiest targets. Updating Linux is actually very simple compared to many operating systems. Most distributions provide a single command that updates the entire system, including applications, system libraries, and the kernel. Running regular updates ensures that security fixes are applied quickly. On many distributions, this can be done with a command like sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade, or using the package manager provided by the distribution. Some users prefer enabling automatic updates for security patches so that critical vulnerabilities are patched without needing manual intervention. While some people worry that updates might break things, security patches are usually safe and are one of the most effective protections you can implement. Another powerful security habit is using strong passwords. It sounds obvious, but weak passwords remain one of the most common reasons systems get compromised. A strong password should be long, unpredictable, and unique. Avoid using dictionary words, personal information, or reused passwords from other websites. Ideally, passwords should be at least 12 characters long and include a mix of letters, numbers, and symbols. Even better is using a password manager that generates and stores strong passwords automatically. Many Linux users also take advantage of SSH keys instead of passwords for remote login. SSH keys are far more secure than traditional passwords, and make remote access both safer and more convenient once configured. User permissions are another core concept in Linux security. Unlike some operating systems, Linux was designed from the beginning with multi-user security in mind. Most daily tasks should be performed as a normal user instead of the root administrator account. The root account has unlimited power and can modify any part of the system, so running everything as root dramatically increases risk. If malicious software runs under root privileges, it can take full control of the system. Instead, Linux encourages the use of sudo for administrative tasks. This means you operate normally as a regular user and only temporarily elevate privileges when necessary. This simple separation dramatically reduces damage from mistakes or malware. Firewalls are another essential part of securing a Linux system. A firewall controls which network connections are allowed and which are blocked. Even if your system is not hosting services intentionally, some applications may open network ports without you realizing it. A properly configured firewall prevents unauthorized connections from reaching those services. Many Linux distributions include a firewall tool called UFW, which stands for Uncomplicated Firewall. Despite the simple name, it is extremely effective and easy to use. In many cases, enabling the firewall and allowing only specific services like SSH is enough to greatly reduce exposure. Desktop users often forget about firewalls because they assume only servers need them, but even laptops connected to public networks benefit from having a firewall enabled. Another beginner-friendly security improvement is disabling services that you do not need. Linux systems sometimes install background services that run automatically even if you never use them. Each running service potentially exposes network ports or consumes system resources. By reviewing which services are enabled and disabling unnecessary ones, you reduce the attack surface of the system. Tools like systemtl allow users to list active services and control which ones start automatically. For example, if you installed a database server for testing but no longer use it, disabling that service ensures it cannot be exploited remotely. SSH security deserves special attention for anyone running a server or accessing their machine remotely. The default SSH configuration is reasonably safe, but a few small changes can make it significantly stronger. One common recommendation is disabling password authentication and using SSH keys instead. This prevents brute force password attacks entirely. Another useful step is changing the default SSH port from 22 to a non-standard port. While this does not provide real security by itself, it reduces automated scanning noise from bots that constantly attack the default port. Limiting SSH access to specific users and enabling tools like fail2ban can further protect the system. Fail2ban monitors login attempts and automatically blocks IP addresses that repeatedly fail authentication. Disk encryption is another important consideration, especially for laptops. If a laptop is lost or stolen, an attacker could access all files simply by removing the drive and reading it on another system, unless the disk is encrypted. Full disk encryption ensures that data remains protected even if the hardware is physically compromised. Many Linux installers offer full disk encryption during installation using technologies like LUKS. Once enabled, the system requires a passphrase during boot before the disk can be accessed. While encryption introduces a small overhead and requires remembering the passphrase, the protection it provides is extremely valuable. Another common security improvement is using a secure browser setup. Many attacks target users through web browsers using malicious websites or compromised advertisements. Using privacy-focused browser settings, installing security extensions, and avoiding suspicious downloads can significantly reduce risk. Keeping the browser updated is also critical because browsers are complex software with frequent security patches. Many Linux users also prefer open-source browsers because their code is transparent and widely reviewed by the community. Malware on Linux is less common than on some other platforms, but it does exist. Rootkits, cryptominers, and malicious scripts occasionally target Linux systems, especially servers. Basic security tools can help detect suspicious behavior. Programs like ClamAV provide antivirus scanning capabilities for Linux. While not every desktop user needs antivirus software, it can be useful for scanning downloaded files or shared drives. Additionally, monitoring tools that track unusual CPU usage, network traffic, or running processes can reveal compromises early. Another powerful habit is creating regular backups. Security is not only about preventing attacks, but also about recovering from problems quickly. Hardware failure, accidental deletion, ransomware, or system corruption can all destroy data. Reliable backups ensure that important files are never permanently lost. Ideally, backups should follow the 3-2-1 rule, which means having 3 copies of data stored on 2 different types of media, with at least 1 copy stored off-site. Many Linux users automate backups using tools like Rink, Borg Backup, or Timeshift. Automation is important because manual backups are often forgotten. File permissions are another aspect of Linux security that beginners should understand. Every file in Linux has permission settings that determine who can read, write, or execute it. Misconfigured permissions can accidentally expose sensitive information or allow unauthorized modification of files. For example, configuration files containing passwords should never be world-readable. Understanding basic permission commands like command and chown helps ensure files remain protected. Even a simple awareness of permissions goes a long way toward preventing mistakes. Another valuable tool in the Linux security ecosystem is AppArmor or CLinux. These are mandatory access control systems that restrict what programs are allowed to do. Even if an application becomes compromised, these systems can limit the damage by preventing access to sensitive parts of the system. While these technologies can seem intimidating at first, many distributions enable them by default with pre-configured policies. Simply keeping them enabled provides additional protection with minimal effort. Logging and monitoring are also essential parts of maintaining a secure system. Logs record system activity such as login attempts, service errors, and network connections. Reviewing logs occasionally can reveal suspicious behavior like repeated login failures or unexpected service activity. Tools like Journal make it easy to search through system logs. Automated monitoring tools can even alert administrators when unusual events occur. While beginners do not need to analyze logs constantly, knowing where logs are stored and checking them occasionally is a useful skill. Another smart security practice is limiting software installation to trusted sources. Linux package managers make this easy because most distributions maintain official repositories that are reviewed and maintained by developers. Installing random software from unknown websites increases the risk of introducing malicious code. When possible, software should be installed through the official package manager or trusted sources, like distribution repositories or well-known containerized formats like Flatpak or Snap. Even then, it is wise to read reviews and understand what software does before installing it. Network awareness is another often overlooked part of Linux security. Understanding which applications are communicating over the network can help detect unusual activity. Tools like Netstat, SS, or graphical network monitors can show open connections and listening ports. If a system suddenly starts connecting to unknown remote servers, that could indicate malware or misconfigured software. Awareness of network activity allows users to investigate suspicious behavior early. For laptop users, physical security also matters. Leaving a laptop unattended in public places increases the risk of theft or tampering. Simple precautions like locking the screen when stepping away and using strong login passwords protect against unauthorized access. Some users also enable automatic screen locking after a short period of inactivity. While these measures might seem basic, they are effective and easy to implement. Another area where beginners can improve Linux security is by using two-factor authentication whenever possible. Two-factor authentication requires a second verification method in addition to a password. This might be a temporary code from a smartphone app or a hardware security key. Even if an attacker steals a password, they cannot access the account without the second factor. Many Linux services and SSH setups can integrate two-factor authentication for additional protection. Containers and sandboxing technologies also help isolate applications from the rest of the system. Tools like Flatpak run applications in restricted environments where they cannot freely access the entire file system. This limits potential damage if the application becomes compromised. While not perfect, sandboxing adds another defensive layer. Another powerful but often overlooked practice is simply being cautious about commands executed in the terminal. Linux users often copy and paste commands from websites or forums. While many tutorials are trustworthy, blindly executing commands can be dangerous. Some commands might delete files, change permissions, or download unknown scripts. Before running any command, it is wise to understand what it does. If a command uses sudo privileges, extra caution is warranted because it will run with administrative power. Kernel updates are another critical component of Linux security. The kernel is the core of the operating system, and vulnerabilities in the kernel can allow attackers to escalate privileges or bypass protections. Keeping the kernel updated ensures that these vulnerabilities are patched. Some distributions provide live kernel patching features that allow updates without rebooting, which is particularly useful for servers that require high uptime. Another helpful tool for security is using intrusion detection systems. These systems monitor files and system behavior for signs of compromise. Tools like AID create a database of file hashes and alert administrators if important files change unexpectedly. While this may be more common on servers, even personal systems can benefit from such monitoring. The concept of least privilege is central to security. This means giving users and programs only the permissions they absolutely need. If a service only requires read access to certain files, it should not have write access to the entire system. Limiting privileges reduces potential damage if the service is compromised. Another important consideration is software isolation through virtualization. Running risky software inside a virtual machine allows experimentation without risking the host system. For example, if you want to test unknown applications or visit suspicious websites, doing so inside a disposable virtual machine can protect the main operating system. Security also benefits from community awareness. Linux has a strong community that actively discusses vulnerabilities, patches, and security practices. Following security announcements from your distribution can help you stay informed about important updates or configuration changes. Finally, one of the most powerful security tools is simply awareness. Understanding that security is an ongoing process encourages better habits. No system can ever be completely secure, but layered defenses dramatically reduce risk. Regular updates, strong passwords, minimal services, firewalls, encryption, backups, and cautious behavior together create a solid security foundation. When these simple practices become routine, Linux systems become incredibly resilient. Beginners often assume security requires advanced expertise, but the reality is that most attacks exploit basic mistakes like outdated software or weak passwords. By addressing these fundamentals, even a beginner can build a surprisingly strong defense. Linux provides powerful security tools out of the box, and with a little knowledge they can be used to protect desktops, laptops, and servers alike. The key is consistency. Security is not a single action performed once, but a habit practiced over time. By following these practical tips and staying aware of potential risks, anyone can significantly improve the security of their Linux system and enjoy the power and freedom of Linux with greater confidence.